little after 1:30 and we will be starting shortly. But again, today we're going to be talking about scaling new heights and achieving your high enrollment for your child care visit. Thank you to Ziba, and I apologize if I brutalized your name, and Jennifer. We're happy to have you here today. Again, please, anyone feel free, enter in the chat. Sarah will be helping me out today by putting in links for not only receiving credit for CEU hours, as well as if you guys have any questions or want any information, she will be posting those links. Suzanne, welcome from Storybook Hollow in Long Island, New York. I'm from New York as well, so welcome. Hi, Regina, owner of Trailblazers Academy for Kids in Kansas. Nice to meet you. Today's webinar, as I mentioned, we're super excited to have Kevin Kilgore on. And some of the things that we're going to talk about today is basically how to improve your techniques and achieve and sustain enrollments within your childcare, learning how to implement effective strategies to overcome common growths, challenges that are in our industry, gain valuable insights from Kevin's firsthand experience with Kids Are Kids, and then engage in an interactive discussion. And what I mean by that is we do have a Q&A section at the bottom of our screen. Please utilize it. It is there for you. This webinar today is for you. So we want to encourage you guys to engage with us as well, because we want to be able to help you and utilize this time with Kevin. He is a wealth of knowledge. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Nicole Farkas. I am the Senior Member Advocate here and your MC with Childcare. My email is here on the screen, but I also post it in the chat throughout if you guys need to reach out to us. Let's see, we've got Michelle from All 4 Kids in Indiana joining us. Welcome. Let's see, we've got Rafe from Kids Are Kids of Conroe. Welcome. Hope I didn't butcher that. we're in Monroe, so I just went with that. But like I mentioned, we're super excited to have you all here today and spending your afternoon or your lunch hour with us. Throughout the webinar today, in the beginning, we're just going to do some housekeeping as well as an introduction to our wonderful guest speaker with our host, Tony D'Agostino. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what Kevin has found to make him so successful in our industry, as well as learn just a little bit about Childcare 360 and how we can help out in this industry. Again, I do like to stress, please put some stuff in the chat. We want to hear from you. Let us know where you're from, as well as don't hesitate to utilize the Q&A. I will be watching that throughout the webinar to make sure that all your questions are answered. We do have a CEU certificate available for you as participating in this. And Sarah, I'm sure will soon put the link to receive the certificate in the chat. Let's see, we've got Katie from Oklahoma, Florida. And we also, there you go. Thank you, Sarah. We also have, let's see, who else did I miss up there? Katie from Oklahoma. And then we also have, let's see, Kids Are Kids Waterset, South Shore in Wellington in Florida. Welcome. Welcome. Brenda Thomas from the Windy City. Nice to have you guys on board. Tony D'Agostino will be the host today. And he is the founder of not only CEO of not only Childcare 360, but also of our centers here in Western New York that we have. So we like to say we drink our own Kool-Aid. Tony, great seeing you again. I know it's just been a few minutes, but I always like to boost you up here because obviously we have a great guest speaker, but you are also a wealth of knowledge in the industry as well. So welcome.
Thank you for giving me those accolades that I likely don't deserve, but Nicole, you're always wonderful, so thank you very much.
Looking for that raise, Tony, looking for that raise.
I'll raise you up to the moon.
There you go. That works for me. All right, well, I'm going to be turning the mic over to you, Tony. Everyone enjoy. And again, like I said, please use the chat section in the Q&A. We are here today for you. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that warm and wonderful welcome. Nicole's a membership advocate at Childcare 360. And what does that mean? Well, instead of us having customer service people or people that are just to answer the phone, The reason we title Membership Advocate is for everybody who becomes part of our family, they become a member. And it's really important that they have representation and advocacy towards what is important that we can offer for them. So that's what the Membership Advocate does, is they work on your behalf. If you're with Inspire Care 360 today, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you, and so happy to have you back with one of our executive webinar series. And if you are not, we do a very much of a hands-on treatment. Our membership advocates work with you sort of nonstop according to your schedule. So you never feel like you have to reach out and ask us questions and try to find us. We do answer the phone when you call. We are there for you. So we are an extension of your team. And let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we are bringing to bear. We recently released a brand new ebook that I have written, and this is Courage in the Face of Adversity. This is really to try to really get a good understanding of how leadership engages, intersects with courage. Courage is not cockiness. Courage is the ability to move to the forefront and allow for you to explore what your potential is. You, in this ebook that I wrote, really focuses around some very effective strategies that you could start working on, blending in, or already, if you feel you're rather courageous, maybe this is something that can help diversify that. So it is something to help you, especially in the area where we have our tremendous talent management challenges. This is a free ebook. Sarah will put a link in our chat. You're welcome to download it, share it as much as you want. This is just free content. As I would like to say oftentimes, high tides raise all ships. And you'll see a series of ebooks. I think we have about 9 or 10 of them right now. So you're welcome to any of those, and we're very happy to provide them. So with that said, let's move forward. And this is Healthy Advantage. One of the things that we are going to do, and I would like to do for you, is I am going to share a very brief little video with you. So one moment, please. I want to make sure this is set up to share, and we will go ahead and play this video.
As a childcare business owner, your employees are your most valuable asset. But how do you provide affordable and accessible healthcare benefits to retain and recruit the best staff? Major medical is outrageously expensive with high premiums and high deductibles. But there's a solution. Inspire Care 360's Healthy Advantage is here to provide you and your employees with qualified plans, including 5 tiers of coverage, with telemed, basic, virtual, ultra, and ultimate. Give your staff options from basic preventative care all the way up to $15 office visits, specialist visits, and so much more. We also offer dental and vision, hospitalization, maternity, medical recovery, critical illness, and group life insurance. Don't miss out on the chance to provide your team with the affordable and accessible healthcare they deserve. Contact us today to start your healthcare journey with Inspire Care 360's Healthy Advantage.
And some of you who've been on before here have heard of a couple of times. Highly affordable for our staff members, highly affordable for our owners. It is very inexpensive for what healthcare costs are today. And the reason is it's sort of like a deconstructed major medical. It's very flexible. There are 5 different program options, anywhere from basic with mostly preventative, all the way to the different office visits that you heard everything about. And we also have a separate telemedicine program only. For instance, with my schools, I buy telemedicine for all staff other than the ones who choose Healthy Advantage, because they get telemedicine in every program. But everybody else gets a telemedicine program as part of joining our company. And that is something that we bring to the market too, if that is something you're interested in. Very relatively inexpensive for that. So it's very easy to implement because we come with a benefit administration team. The benefit administration team are the ones who do the surveys and the census and then do the education of your teammates. They then have the individual conversations. They identify what's important for them, what they do need, what they should work towards, and then the kind of programs and program costs, and get them all set up and set up the payroll and everything. So you do not have to basically lift a figure when it comes to it, other than making sure that your staff knows that people are going to be talking to them. And so it is very much compliant with the Affordable Care Act. And we do need a little bit of runway. So if this is something you're interested in, especially coming into the fall where a lot of people do open enrollments and the like, this can be started at any time. However, if you do want to do something for the fall, now would be the time to start contacting and having the discussions with our team. Let's move forward. Another one is our platform. Our platform is Inspire University. It is something that is substantial in helping you organize the content distribution, education of your team, and the development for professional development for your organization, as well as performance development. You can see all the different services with our solution of Inspire University, but it is a program that not only has our content, has your handbooks, orientations, operational procedures, but it also will include your content. You can launch any kind of content, not only courseware that you could actually build on our platform and send out. You can also develop your own courseware for yourself that you might have outside of this environment. Maybe you have PowerPoint presentations or you have videos that you want to share. Maybe you just had a staff meeting and you know you're hiring some new staff the following week and you want them to take advantage of all those different staff meetings in the past so you can record them. That can all be delivered on our platform as an extension of your environment. For what the value it offers to the expense of it, it is a significant return on your investment. So if you do have interest, just pop into the chat or directly reach out to us and we'd love to respond to tell you a little bit more about it. So with that said, it is time to introduce our guest. And if Kevin, you want to start coming on, that would be great with your audio and your video. Kevin is a Kids Are Kids International franchise owner. He has significant amount of experiences. I know he has thousands of families that he's dealt with because right now he's creeping up on 400 children daily at one of his schools with an opportunity to continue to development. He has been awarded some of the highest gross revenue awards at the national conference for the Kids Are Kids franchise. And I recently was out there and had an opportunity to spend some time with Kevin at his schools, and they were very impressive. So, Kevin, I'm not sure if you've been able to come on board. Are you there for us?
I'm here. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon.
So nice to see you again, as if we didn't talk a few minutes right before you started, but it's great to have you on board. Unfortunately, when I do this mode, I don't get to see you personally, but I do believe others do. So with that said, I want to first not only welcome you, but also have you do a little bit more of an introduction of yourself so people get to know you personally a little bit. Tell us just a little bit about you.
So my family has some deep roots with Kids Are Kids leading back to the late 80s. My aunt and uncle were looking for childcare for my cousin, and that turned into searching for a new business. And they happened upon Kids Are Kids and the team. And before they knew it, they were building a childcare for my cousin to attend. And that was in 1989. Wow. My dad later followed suit and left the JCPenney company with his brother 6 years later and opened the first Kids Are Kids in Texas in 1995. I was still in high school and just enamored by the entrepreneur role that he had taken on. And we made a deal that day that, hey, if you go and finish college and go get yourself a quote unquote, a big boy job, we'll get you into school too one day. And fast forward to 2006, and I signed my first franchise agreement and never looked back. So here we are today.
That's great. Well, welcome. And it's a great story, something similar to exactly what you told me when I was out there in Houston. And I think, you've done just a great job with what you're doing. Kids Are Kids is a franchise. For those of you who are on here and might not realize that, you might have heard of Kids Are Kids in your neighborhood or in a, neighboring cities and whatever. They've got a very expansive program. There are close to over 170 locations nationwide. Kevin is really just actually banging it up over there, really with one of the very top schools and really leading the way. And what are some of the very best practices? After I had a chance to be at one, having some discussions about some different things, I really noticed some uniqueness in how Kevin brings his business to the market. And what I liked about it, genuinely, it wasn't about just business. It was really about people. So Kevin, I'm going to start there. All right. So I'd like to know a little bit about what are your theories about building a strong team? What do you think is the foundation of constructing a strong team within the childcare industry?
We believe that it all starts in the parking lot. When they pull in, one of the nice things they get to see is employee signs of our folks that have been here 2 years or longer. And it's actually our biggest parent complaint / compliment. When a parent pulls in and a new staff member pulls in, they get to see that half the parking lot is consumed by 2-year or more employees. And that gives everyone a sense of comfort from a customer standpoint to a staff member standpoint, as we like to call it, welcome to the family. So when you pull in our parking lot to fill out an application, it's really more of an interview to be part of our family and our team. And so from the minute they walk in the door, they notice that our attitude is our altitude, and they're met with smiles and greetings and a welcome that they're thinking, I'm applying for a job. Little do they know they're becoming part of our family tree. And that's what really sets us apart.
And I'd like just to add in on that from the parking lot. When I first pulled in, it's not only 2 years or above, but they actually put on the signs how many years
That's right.
that individual's been there. So they have people there like 12 years and the like. It's awesome. It's just a great thing. And I love the idea that in a way you're prioritizing sometimes the staff, even over the families who are coming, for giving a key sweet parking spot. But I think it starts there. Once they walk in the door though, what other things are you doing to really focus on that culture that you're developing?
So once you become part of our team, and a lot of times people that are applying know someone that works here. So we have that the first interview is almost already done because there's been a recommendation made. And we love that. And it's interesting, we had a meeting this morning with the directors and they said, Kevin, we've got some people approaching that 15-year mark. We have a 5 and a 10-year bonus. What are we going to do? And I said, well, first, before I say a number, how many people are behind the person that's approaching 15? Because we can only write that check so many times. But then again, I'll write as many times as I have to because those folks are invaluable. But we invest in employees like they're investing with us. So from the minute you walk in the door, we're offering you your typical health benefit package. Our interview process is more of a get to know you. That first interview is just getting to know who you are, what your hobbies are, what do you like to do, where do you live, you have family close by, and we just have a conversation. We really want them to feel at home versus answering the 10 best practice questions we downloaded off the internet, and it feels a very corporate atmosphere. So you're part of the family. Once you be comfortable with us, we have that conversation, and then we kind of outlay what we do. We start with, oh, you mentioned you're in school, you're in college. Well, did you know that we offer a scholarship every semester you work here? If you're an education major, we're gonna give you a check to the university every semester you work here. If you're a non-education major, I still want to invest in you. You get a check as well. If you work here for 3 years, you're going to get 6 semesters worth of checks. We highlight 90-day incentives for simply being on time and not missing work, having unexcused absences. And we highlight that as you grow with us, there's 5, 10, and now a 15-year bonus incentive. And along with that, every child we enroll in your classroom, you get a split of the registration fee along with the person that did the tour. So we get to tell people we have an hourly plus commission program, and they immediately perk up knowing that you're not just going to put another child in my classroom and I'm expected to do more work. I'm going to reward you. And I have teachers that literally come to the door when I'm doing a tour and they welcome that child into the classroom because they know they want to be part of the family as well.
So I want to pause you right there for a bit because there's a dichotomy that you're offering that I think is very interesting. One is a welcoming to the family, sort of the softer interview of get to know you. The other side is very financially incentivized. And I think there's really some wonderful dynamics to that too, because you're really having to really meet the staff member for where they're at. One question I am going to get to, but not right now, is how you afford these kind of incentives, because I know there's a lot of people out there as owner operators who are always looking at their bottom lines and they're like, I'm not sure if I can invest, and I'm not sure if I could pay for, I'm not sure if this is what I could afford to do. I would love to do it, but I'm not sure. So there's a lot of that coming. But when we really look at sort of that interview process and that referral process, how many staff members do you have today?
We have 65 members on staff.
That's fantastic. And it's all under one roof today. I know that there's other considerations coming up, but today it's all under one roof.
All under one roof. That's correct.
Okay, fantastic. And right now, do you have a significant number of openings that are inhibiting and creating wait lists for you and inhibiting growth?
No, so it's the other way around. In the last 3 to 4 months, we're actually seeing a growing trend of people who fill out an application to circle back and see if we reviewed their application. Something we haven't been able to deal with since before COVID. So
Wow.
the tide is definitely shifting. And just a little bit of a backstory. This school that I'm in now opened with 60 kids. We went through COVID just like everyone else did. And trust me when I tell you, I know you'll get to it. But we were looking at the same bottom line challenges everyone else was. The school that was at 400 in February of 2020 and in March, we had 58 kids in the building. How are we going to power out of this? And so we can get to that. I know you mentioned, but just from everybody's standpoint, it didn't open up with 400 kids the first day. And so we had different ways of growing these incentives over time.
Okay, well, let's jump into the incentives a little bit. And I think you probably know what I'm saying, because I'm sure those things have gone through your head with me, with my schools, they go through my head. I would love to afford this. Will it work? Won't it? Have you done a lot of A/B testing, I would say, or what are the ways that you came about to really go that these things that I'm trying to implement are actually working? Where did you sort of decide to pioneer these things and see that the payoff of the investment is actually a payoff to your bottom line too?
So the first thing I do is I focus with our management team, and I'm very transparent with our expenses and how the school operates. I go through them a weekly summary of enrollment and then a monthly overview from 20,000 feet of what our expenses look like. And I share that with them. And we create a growth plan verbally together that help them understand if we want to offer this instead of that, here's what we've got to do. So the first thing I did was we adopted the 90-day incentive program. So 90-day incentives, basically from the first day you start, you're eligible. 90 days later, you could be getting a bonus check on top of your regular check for simply clocking in on time and not having any unexcused absences. Very, very simple, easy to achieve, not going to break the bank. So how that works is they get 50 cents extra for every hour they've worked over that 90-day period. So if you've got averaging 30 hours a week, you've got 12 weeks times 30 hours, you're going to get 50 cents for those hours in addition to your regular weekly paycheck.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And you also mentioned something too, we'll get over to the 5 and 10 year and 15-year bonus, but you also mentioned something that I really liked when I was out there, to the point that I'm really considering it heavily for my schools today. I've come close to implementing, but I haven't implemented it yet. And that is rewarding teachers for new enrollments. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so the first thing I did was when we were coming out of COVID, I thought to myself, people are registering. In addition to their weekly tuition, they're writing a registration fee check. Okay, $100 per child or $150 per family. How do I break this up and incentivize those that have been running with 3 or 4 kids in a classroom that we're fixing to go back to 18? And their hourly rate is not going to change. And so what I did was I calculated, I said, look, we've never run a business that had to have a registration fee. $25 to the person that tours. The rest of that registration fee goes to the teachers in the classroom. So when you go from 5 children to 7, y'all are each going to get $25 per child. So that could be $50 on your next paycheck. People start running to the door real fast when they see a tour coming down the hallway and they think they go in their classroom. And it didn't cost me anything because the registration fee that the parent pays is in addition to it's a one-time fee.
Yeah.
And so you get, let's say you have a regular rate of enrolling 1 to 2 children a month in a classroom, which is typically what you're going to find. You're going to get $50 a month. If you look at what folks are making, that's a lot of gas money.
Yeah, we have a quick question from Jim, who had asked, what do you do when you have multiple teachers in a classroom? Do you split
That's right.
that?
Right. So the one who's doing the tour gets 25. If there's 3 teachers in the classroom, they get the rest of the registration fee, 25 each. So our classrooms are typically staffed with 3 to 4 sometimes. They will each get 25. There's a time or two when this has cost me an additional $25, and that's okay. Again, they love the fact that When that child starts on Monday, they're ready for them. Their cubby's ready. They know the child's name when they walk in the door. The parent is immediately feeling right at home. And that staff member who was making the $15 an hour gets $25 in additional on their next check.
Fantastic. And obviously you have your head around bonus programs and getting people incentivized. So I'm sure we could talk the entire time on that alone. So I'm going to parking lot some of that and ask you a few additional questions, though, Kevin, just to move us along a little bit. When you do look at bringing on new team members and you look at getting them integrated into your environment, what are the ways that you see of getting them blended into your culture so that they really see the vision that you and your teammates have as to where you want to go with the school, and that they're on that train and they're not deviating and causing any different issues possibly?
Okay, so that first interview, we're getting to know them, and then the director who's doing the interview is going to take them on a quick tour of the school. We are then going to invite them back for a working interview, and I'm going to incentivize them to come back for the working interview with a gas gift card, $25. There's so many rewards cards that you can use for your business right now. And you can go online and click that I want 10 Chevron gas gift cards of your choice. They're going to get that gift card. So to simply come back, I'm going to fill up your tank. So you'll just come back. We're going to put you in 2 or 3 different classrooms. And in those classrooms, I've got some of my mentors who are going to go a bit above and beyond just throwing you in there and saying, hey, jump in there with the kids and see what you can do with them. They're taking you under their wing. And so from that standpoint, they immediately feel at home. We go a little farther than just showing them where the restroom is, or in some cases not. So we're not just going to throw you in a classroom and say, hey, here's our curriculum. Let's try to figure this out. Keep the kids from hurting each other. When we do that working interview, we know we can call into those 3 classrooms and get a good opinion from my 3 mentors who say, Kevin, this is a good fit for us. Or I don't know, she stood in the corner with her arms folded. We're going to want to be careful. So We're really looking for that personality, because we know there's so much training available for childcare. Once we've got someone in that we feel like she's a good fit and we have the age group open that she's looking for, we're going to look for any deficiencies that we may see in those working interviews. And before she goes into the classroom full time, we're going to offer some training on our dime to get her ready to walk into that and not feel like I was thrown into a classroom, because you see that so much in childcare. Someone looking for a pulse and a heartbeat. All right, get into the 3-year-old classroom and just keep them from biting and hitting.
Yeah.
That person feels like they're part of the family. They already know some of the staff members because they've done working interviews. And someone comes in there, a curriculum coordinator, and checks on them from time to time just to ensure that they're feeling part of the family.
Wonderful, and really feeling that blend of getting them in, getting them on board, and making sure they feel like they're part of it. That belonging thing is absolutely critical. When you look at the training that you're doing, I think a lot of owner operators sometimes struggle, which we've talked about, because obviously training and development is near and dear to our heart for what we do. But some owner operators struggle at times getting enough time to allow them to have time to train while on the job. How do you guys coordinate that to make that happen in scheduling?
So with scheduling, and I see one of the questions here that I'll answer real quick before I forget, is regulations when you have a working interview. And so what we do is we do a name-based background check before, and we have to get that back before the person can come in for their working interview. So I know that they are good to go. So we do require that. So it might take a few days before you get to come in for your working interview. If I don't have that back, then we may push your working interview back a day or 2.
Okay, very good.
I'm getting old, so can you ask your question one more time?
You're nowhere near as old as me, my friend, but I appreciate it. So basically, you do have training and development, which is great and fantastic. And it is something that you said that helps them coalesce together. What do you do to help them, be able to take it? Because quite oftentimes the challenges that schools have is they're like, well, we've invested in training and development. However, we don't have enough time because they're always in the classroom. How do you find time for them to be able to go through training with you?
Lunch and Learns is our biggest way to do that. So we have a list of people that we will call in, and we'll may bring a classroom or 2 out at a time during lunch. And this is paid training, and we'll pay the trainer to come in and do a continuing education hour during lunchtime. And I buy lunch, I'll pay the trainer, and you get your hours. And so between your pre-service training, when you first hire them on, they're going to sit with our management team and go through 8 hours of pre-service. So it may take 1, 2, even 3 days before we'll actually put you in the classroom. So again, it comes down to, we have people that want to work here. They want to join the family. We have to wait and see if we actually have a spot where they want to work. It's almost like accommodating a new child that's walking in the door. And we like being in that position because we all know what it was like during COVID. We take anybody that walked through the door to help us, you know, and we were just hoping the families would come screaming in the door. But how do you keep them?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was out there too, sounds like I'm going a little different direction, but it does get back to retention. I've noticed a lot of big box names dropping in new locations right where your school is. That obviously is saying something about what you guys are doing. They want some of that,
Right.
you know, so you are having some competition come in there. What do you do to retain your staff, you know, further? I know you talked about getting the culture and the bonuses. Is there anything else that you're doing to really focus on retention of your key staff?
Here's something that I look forward to doing with our management team is we want our office, the director's office, to never be seen as a place where bad things are about to happen. So our director keeps a handful of gift cards in her desk. Megan and Jennifer at will, if they see something, we want to catch you at your best. I want to call you in the office. I want to fillet out all these gift cards like a stack of playing cards, and you get to pick one. I just want to thank you for your time, because you could be spending your time anywhere else. You'd be surprised. That's better than giving someone a raise, a one-time gift card or a Subway gift card, or there's 4 or 5 of them. The ladies love getting their nails done, so I've got a few of those I keep on hand as well. But really, when you help them understand that we are all in this together, there is not a front desk and a back of the house. This is all one house. And you never want anyone to feel like it's house divided. And I walk into so many childcares, and it feels like you can feel right away the us versus them mentality. And you've got to get rid of that by simply having the cohesion of your monthly staff meetings. We do something with our monthly staff meetings like no other. Our directors do the housekeeping, and then each classroom actually takes on a subject matter such as dress code, and they will act out the good and the bad. The next classroom may have a subject matter of supervision, playground safety, transportation safety, all these things, and they are now part of the staff meeting instead of us just sitting and talking at them for an hour, because I've lost them at that point. So the best way to keep your attention is having your family teach you something you may or may not have known. I've come out of the staff meetings going, you know what, I've heard of that regulation. I forgot about it. Thanks for bringing that up tonight.
Yeah, well, it's what you're talking about is substantial, not only in the way to keep their attention, but logistically when it comes to developing a competency and learning. When they're authoring, when they're the ones who are at point, that's when they're really retaining. They're retaining their knowledge at 80% plus, where if you're just sitting at the front of the classroom and talking to them, it's 5 to 10% level of retention. So you're obviously doing something right there. So that's awesome, Kevin.
When you look at from the standpoint of simply letting people know that I believe in you and I trust you, and these are the state standards, 4 or 5 of them that you and your team are going to put together a little presentation for 5 minutes and speak to the family tonight on. You have crossed so many bridges of someone being just shy. If you can stand up in front of your team, you're not going to have as much of a time talking to a parent. So we open up so many doors of just feeling comfortable around your team members and your family, and before you know it, your customers no longer feel like customers. They feel like part of your family tree as well.
That's awesome. And speaking of that, when you look at what your families feel around with your staff, where do you see sort of the level of delineation in your mind? Do you have any kind of strong thoughts as to how much staff and teachers should be directly communicating with families at what level? Sometimes schools have seen where teachers get such a close relationship, it goes to the point where they're having a relationship almost outside of the school, and the school's not aware of what's going on. Other times they're so obviously, everything has to go through the director in some schools, and in turn the teachers feel like they're disconnected from some of the families. Where do you find a balance for yourself in your school?
So we always want teachers to feel like they can come to us. Hey, this is a challenge going on with Miss Smith, let's work together. We never want anyone to feel like, hey, Ms. Smith is mad, you know her best, you just need to get this solved, go figure it out. And so with the interaction from the management team, that's where that boils down to, is knowing that we are very approachable at the front desk. We never want you to feel like you and a parent need to be texting back and forth at 8 o'clock at night. Has it happened? It has, but you're going to get farther and farther along in these conversations and closer to a solution if your team at the front is working well with the team in the back. And I can't stress enough, help them understand their boundaries. Your boundaries are, once this becomes a parent asking for your phone number other than for a babysitting job, and that's typically where that door gets opened. Hey, you know anybody that babysits? All right, well, now you've got their phone number. Now I'm going to start sending you pictures and harassing you on the weekend for my child said so-and-so hit him. Yes, ma'am. Let's talk about that Monday morning, and I'll inform Miss Megan and Miss Jennifer of what's going on, and let's have a meeting with yourself and myself and the directors, and let's get this figured out. So just really helping them understand your boundaries are, once it gets to the point of a personal conversation, it's outside of work, let's bring it back into work and let us help you solve it together.
Awesome. Things obviously seem to have been going very well for you, but why don't you tell us about what all of us owners go through? What are the things that haven't gone well? What are some of the challenges that you've had that you're like, well, I tried that didn't take, or possibly, we went down this path and I took a risk, and unfortunately it's not the payoff I was seeking?
I think my biggest blunder over the years, we always try to promote from within, and we're fixing to go through that again, opening another school. And we've got an acquisition we're working on as well. Trying to turn a great teacher into a great management person. I normally 3 times out of 4, I lose at this, where I've tried to do it on my own or set someone up, and I feel like I've set them up for failure because you were an awesome teacher and I tried to turn you into a great curriculum coordinator, and it was like a bomb went off. It did not go well, and moving that person back to the classroom typically doesn't go well either, and then I've lost a great teacher. So I would say that's one of my biggest things that I've actually had to back away from, and I've promised the ladies that I won't make that mistake again without talking to them and working together. Just going off on my own thinking I've got this, and then the management team finds out that Kevin's made a promise and now they need to help me try to keep it. Man, I have to go find somewhere else to eat my lunch. Sometimes they'll get so upset with me when I do that. So I've learned, you know what, we really are better together. And that's something that Kids Are Kids stresses too, is we are way better together.
Yeah. And that's one of the things when I was at your guys' conference, all the owners are asked heavily to be at their schools and participate hands-on. And I could tell you're very much a hands-on, owner operator of your school. I think there's a big blend out there in the, in the world. When you look at your management team, what do you say is really your sort of management philosophy in the way that you're expecting your team to lead?
So the first thing I do is I ask people when I walk in the door, is there anything I can do to make your day better? Right? You just don't know what people are going through, and you tell people to leave X, Y, and Z at the door. But I think we all need to grip the reality that does not happen in most cases. We're all human. And sometimes it's okay to walk in the door and go, you know what? If I could have 5 minutes of your time, I'll have a better day. That's what I need from you. And we'll go sit in the office and just have a discussion. It's typically not even work related. And so our team understands that we got to get down in the trenches, get out of the office, and get our steps in. And that's the best advice I can give any owner and any director out there is you cannot manage these schools unless you've got to measure them. And you can't measure it if you can't manage it. You can't manage it if you can't measure it. And so if you don't know what the altitude of your teachers are, your disconnect will cost you in the long run. And where I'm going with this is where there's smoke, there's fire. And you've got to get out there on your feet, get your steps in and find out where that might be. And if there's not any, you get out there and you say, hi, how can I just help in your classroom and make things better? I'll get the curriculum coordinator. If it's a couple of, a yard of yarn, let me get that for you. I'll bring it to you right now. So just the inclusion and making them feel a part.
Do you have scorecards or the like because of looking at the analytics within your schools on measuring actual data where it comes to performance?
So we have them fill out a review once a year. That does not mean you're getting a raise. So we've really broken the mold on, hey, I've been here for a year, so my dollar.
Yeah.
If things are going well, you should have already gotten your dollar. We're doing is just having a discussion with your performance review to ensure that your training is done. And one of the things we do with our monthly staff meetings or quarterly is you have to come into one of the quarterly meetings each time with some training done. So you're not at the end of the year trying to fulfill all the state's requirements in a week. And so that's a great way to measure the temperature is get down there and just talk to them. Have these performance reviews, bring them in the office just because you've caught them at your best. You know what? I love the way you were talking and your transition song from your classroom to the cafeteria. Can you come here for a minute? I just want to praise you for a moment and help them understand that the office is about good things too. Yes, we're going to have some dicey conversations and discuss our challenges, but we're also going to talk about something great you did as well. That opens up the door to the temperature of the teachers. We feel like is that we can catch her at her best, but only to find out something else might be going on. Do you have a minute? Well, typically when I hear it, do you have a minute? It turns into a lot of minutes, but those lots of minutes really got me lots of hours that day. Because when you come in, you walk through that door and XYZ is going on, and I just blew you off and let you clock in and get back there. Your kids know how your day is going by your facial expressions and your tone. Yeah. And that 3-year-old classroom can go sideways in a hurry, as we all know.
Yeah, absolutely. And good stage ideas when it comes to that, for sure. You know, I want to get back a little bit to, you know, as you look to expand and differentiate yourself in the marketplace, a little bit away from your staff, though staff, as we know, is a major differentiator. It's why parents come. What are some of the other differentiators that you do at your school, Kevin, or your schools that you will have too, that you really set yourself apart above and beyond the competition?
Being family owned and operated, I think that I'll go back to something the owner, Janice Vinson, the founder of Kids Are Kids, told us all at a conference years ago, because we vendor after vendor, we're all buying the next big thing at the conferences. We've got these 19 new things we're implementing in our school. We can't wait to get back to do it. And she got up there and reminded us that, guys, parents are looking for a quality, loving, nurturing environment. And she just kind of stopped there. And we all couldn't disagree with her, because that's exactly what they're looking for. So some of the differentiating factors are being owner operated. The owner is on site at the school. You know, that really, really helps. And not so much that people say, well, I want to talk to Kevin. They know that there's a higher standard, if you will, in some cases, not all, but in some cases. I'm a dad too. And mom, if that didn't set well with you as a mom, it probably is not going to set well with me as a dad. Mm-hmm. Going through just from a 20,000 feet perspective, some of the things we've implemented recently. We have a security guard at the front door now. He is armed, he has handcuffs, he's licensed to carry, he's got the bulletproof vest. Just with everything going on in America, we even have to talk about it, but from an educational standpoint, we feel like the industry's been targeted, unfortunately, with people with weapons. So that alone, and he's gotten to know the kids' names. He's on first name basis with the parents and kids almost sometimes more than I am. That's been a huge thing that we've offered. Secondly, we have a camera in the parking lot, a camera in the lobby, and the camera in the back of our building that are programmed with artificial intelligence, that they can sight out any weaponry that someone may be carrying. And we're able to, that's monitored by a third party, and they are able to dial 911 directly for us. So we've had to take school safety to the next level.
And I will say that Kevin shared with us a couple of links about that. And Sarah, if you could send those links out to everybody so they can get links to understand what Kevin's talking about, some of the technology that he's implementing, which would be fantastic for everybody out there to take a look at. You know, Kevin, one of the things I do think when you think about the security guard, you know, for those of you who don't know, Kevin is in sort of a higher end suburb. He's not in a very rural, very urban, very, you know, crime ridden area or something of that nature. but he has invested still in a security guard. And when I pulled up, it was one of the, obviously the very first things that I noticed. You know, when you look at the cost of a security guard, and I know the easy answer is just say, hey, how could you not invest in that, as you could? But as all business owners do look at this, you know, when you look at the investment in something like a security guard, where have you really seen the returns outside of just the security?
So the returns have been, we closed the back door. People are no longer looking for childcare. They feel like they've found their home. So when you're offering things like this, for another one, we've implemented Safer Watch with panic buttons on all of our iPads. And then we have 3 physical panic buttons in the building as well. School security has just become such a priority based on just national news. And so I get that question a lot, is the half dozen things you're doing, which one is really paying off? It's hard to say. When you have a spreadsheet or your financials you're going through with your accountant and you're just looking at the bottom line, you won't focus on the middle portion. The minute you start focusing on the middle portion, the bottom line takes care of itself every single time. We grew as a school just like everybody on this webinar did. We didn't fall out of the sky with 400 kids thinking, how are we going to afford a security guard? There was a day when we didn't have that. There was also a day where we weren't seeing school shootings 2 or 3 a month during when school's in session. Sadly, very sad that we're having to see that. But we had to take that initiative and parents are walking up going, wow, if you're doing this, what more are you doing? So, all right, let's go into the inside of the school for a second. The second most highly anticipated topic in childcare is you've got school security and now cleanliness and sickness, illness. What I did was we implemented a full-time custodian at the school. And Erica goes in, and whenever a class is outside, she's kind of, I call it the hotel approach. Give it the 15-minute bath, if you will, in the classroom. Restrooms, tabletops, high touch areas, get in, get out, take your janitorial cart to the next classroom. If a hand, foot, and mouth, we all know on this webinar, hand, foot, and mouth, the minute you get it, 15 minutes later, 3 classrooms have got it. The minute we hear something like that going on, Miss Erica's in the classroom and she's helping the teachers scrub down, clean, and get the classroom ready and sanitized. And this is happening all day long. And so we have that quality, loving, nurturing environment. You got to keep them safe and you got to keep them healthy. You can't educate sick children.
One of the things you mentioned, Kevin, and thank you for that. One of the things you mentioned there, though, I think is really important, you know, because oftentimes we're driven by our financial advisors, business advisors, and what have you, you know, don't spend money you don't have kind of thing. And you just talked a little bit about the middle, or the area of looking at the opportunity and the betterment of your schools, and the bottom line will fix itself. Candidly, I have a very similar theory myself, but I'm very impressed in the areas that you have gone to and the areas you've expanded upon. When you look at the financial structure, when it comes to like tuitions, you don't have to share your exact tuitions with us. Everybody has their own tuitions and they're usually demographic driven anyhow. But when you look at that, do you see yourself as the most expensive, the least expensive, middle of the market? What is your philosophy when it comes to tuition and value for the tuition?
I look at this just like people look at cars. And you look at a quality product is going to cost you more. Of 11 licensed childcares within 3 miles of our facility, one being literally right next door, I could share a parking lot with them. We are the highest in the neighborhood. This propels us to be able to pay people more. It attracts the best talent. And it also instills in a parent that, you know, you've got an infant room with 10 babies, but you got 3 teachers in there versus the state mandated 2. We carry that philosophy through the building with our pre-K programs and after school programs. So you're going to find that our ratios and group sizes are what sets us apart. So when you start studying that middle section, if your accountant's going to make your decisions for you, he's going to go in there and have you tighten up, decrease, decrease, decrease to make that bottom line look bigger. If Kevin looks at your financials, he's going to go in there and say, let's hire 4 more staff. We're going to take a little bit of a beating on this. And then we're going to offer some incentives to these classrooms. And we're going to get your enrollment up 10%. And you won't look back. So we get stuck in these plateaus in childcare. If your school licenses for 200, but it's running good at 140, we just stop. you've got to stair step it to 165 or 170, and that's the only way to do it. But when you're focused intently on that bottom line and your EBITDA and everything else that we could, a whole nother conversation, you're going to find that it'll hurt you more than it'll help you, because when you take care of the middle, you'll put another 100,000 on the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. And strong statement there. We got a question from Estella. What are the top marketing strategies that have helped increase enrollment?
So we publicize everything we do. Let's go back, Tony, you asked me about the incentives, and I'm happy to dive into that just a little bit more, because we publicize every single thing we do on social media. The security guard is at the front, before I forget to answer that. He's full-time and he is stationed at the front. And he does have, he's GPS monitored to look at gates, locks, and et cetera. Back to the staffing and all of that good stuff. So when you look at your top marketing strategies, the best thing you can have in the community is a referral, right? And people are incentivized by, I'll give you your 5th or 6th week free. I would rather not give them anything free and just let them know, when you enroll here, our staff benefit right away. And here's how they do it. My 5-year employees get $500. We have a big Kids Are Kids check that we had printed at a publishing company. You can find them online. We make the check out to them. They're on Facebook, shaking it around, doing a little dance. Facebook and Instagram are your friend. Okay. When they hit 10 years, it's $1,000. If you're going to college, we write that check to Sam Houston State University for an education major. They get $750 towards college. We write that check out to Sam Houston State University with our employees out there dancing with the 2 or 3 that got it. We love to publicize that. Parents see it right away. An incentive program that we do that helps enrollment, go on Facebook and give our teachers a shout out, and I'll give them $25. Every time I do this, it costs me $1,000, but the parents are going, that's really cool that they get that on their next check. We don't make them wait 90 days for that bonus, or it goes into a pot. If Miss Jessica gets a shout out in the 3-year-old classroom, on her next check, she gets $25 for every parent that does it. And it's family specific. So mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa can't go and do it. So 1 shout out per family, but she can get 6 shout outs from 6 different families and make $125 on that. I call it the Wednesday Madness sale for just bonuses. We do that once a quarter. So people accuse me of always having a pot boiling.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, you definitely are having a pot always boiling there. You know, I think in answering Estelle's question, the mindset with some people are, okay, I have to get on the community. I have to do Facebook posts. I have to do all this advertising. I have to do that. And you're really keep on going back to investment in the staff, investment in the staff, investment in the staff. But do you do things such as Google ads?
We do not.
Interesting. You don't do any Google ads or anything.
There is no paid advertising for me other than what Kids Are Kids does as the National Ad Fund. I don't use a CRM. I don't have a CRM as a service. The ladies at the front desk literally have a notepad. They have their cards ready to go when a parent calls and says, hey, I'd like to come in at tour at 4:30. All right, my name's Corey. Ask me when you get here. If I'm not here, Brittany will be here and she'll have your tour packet ready to go. They walk in and their kids' names are already written on the emergency information card. Oh my gosh, you were serious when I walked to the door. So you can give so much more. I mean, I don't know anybody that works at Google. I don't know anybody that works at Facebook. And they're never going to come visit our school. But Miss Jessica in 300 or 350 or whatever your sweet names are called, she's going to come back tomorrow. And that $25 she's going to get for help me enroll a child is going to go so much farther in her life than throwing out Facebook ads.
That's fantastic to hear that you're not doing that. It does turn things on the head. There's a lot of consultants out there who talk about X amount of your revenue you must spend on advertising, blah, 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 real heavy push, and keep on coming back to no, I'm keep on investing in my staff. I invest and I'm not giving it away. I'm not giving away the farm to my families either. They're paying sort of top dollar, but they're getting what they paid for, it sounds like.
So with families, I'll invest in them too. We handwrite thank you cards to all of our families, just thanking them for allowing us and ensuring their trust to take care of little Johnny and his sister. And they get those handwritten thank you cards. And then we'll occasionally put up on Facebook and Instagram a post. We're having a family night or a carnival's coming up. We're having a charity event coming up for one of our teachers. Mom and dad, if you'll simply like and share this post and email it to me that you did it, I'll give you $25 off your tuition.
Wow.
I'll look up and have 45 or 50 shares on a single post. And I've invested back in the families. They
Yeah.
are going to tell a friend. It's
Yeah.
just natural. I don't know if that sponsored Facebook or Instagram ad went to anybody that cares about my business. They try to say that they do, or they try to refine the demographics. But I know the Smith family, when they like and share a post, that they have other mom groups and friends on their pages that likely have a child that needs childcare.
Well, it's also proven that, like you mentioned early on in this conversation, referrals are the very top way. Second to that, but farther down, are like testimonials, because it's not a live referral, but it's someone who's saying very positive things from your staff member or from a family. But well below that is when you're doing basically what I call cold ads, where you're just putting out there, here's our features and benefits. Hopefully you show up. So I do believe that there brings a lot of value from that. You know, when you look at where this industry is going, Kevin, what do you foresee is sort of the path that you believe that this industry is going to develop into? We have a lot of schools that are now public schools who are now starting to draw away 4-year-olds. We have a lot of ones that are even going in and starting to draw away 3-year-olds into the public schools. That may not be happening as much in Houston and Texas. It certainly is happening in New York, but across the nation, it's happening. How do you have seen, you've been in this industry, your folks have been in this industry, you basically live and breathe this industry. Where do you see the industry going? And I know we're concluding on our time here a little bit, but I'd love to get some of your thoughts on that.
So you're going to look at, there's always room for a state-sponsored event, like a family who could qualify for 4-year-olds to go to pre-K. We're never going to speak against getting a child in an educational setting if that's what works best for the family. Where we're going to draw you in is the other 15 things that we offer as a private preschool, and show you the scholarships that are available for 4-year-olds to attend our private preschool. So we are open to subsidies, and I would recommend that everybody on here go after NACCE. In Texas, it's called Texas Rising Star. In other states, they have their own set of guidelines for being part of their state standards or accreditations. Go and get them. And when it comes time to, as I say, to play ball with that demographic, you want to be able to receive that child in the same manner. They're just too young to get on a school bus and go to school. We are better built. Our buildings are better designed, as we all know, as well as our playgrounds. We're safer and more secure with our ratios and group sizes for 3- and 4-year-olds to stay in childcare. Same reason, college students don't go to elementary schools and utilize those schools as a university. Same reason elementary school kids don't go to a high school building. We're built better, and we're better facilitated to take care of those age groups.
I love the confidence behind that for sure. With only a couple of minutes left, is there anything that you wanted to discuss or bring to the table that maybe I haven't asked you about, Kevin, that you'd love to share with the audience?
You know, my biggest thing to share with everyone here is anybody that needs help can reach out to me. And Tony and anybody on your team, feel free to share my information with any of your listeners. We love talking about this stuff. So I just want to hold my hand out and help everyone understand we will prevail on the other side with the education of young children. Go after those accreditations, invest in your staff, get to know your community. That's the best advice I can give you.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic, Kevin. And Kevin, you know, honestly, we could bring this conversation in multiple directions for many subtopics as to what you talked about. We unfortunately only have an hour for our community that's out there. You know, for those of you out there, I just want to review a few of the things that Kevin had talked about. And, you know, it starts in the parking lot with him. They really have looked at recruiting and retention with a lot of kind of incentives to really bring that to bear with their staff right out of the gate. They're very much looking at what growth opportunities are and really focus on, for instance, like 90-day incentives right out of the gate. You know, different incentives for per child, for the entire family. They're being brought in $25 per person that are staff members, that when a family comes in, that registration for that 100 or 150 that they're charging, you guys can charge something else, obviously, for whatever you want. And then they're giving away, they're doing things such as gift cards, guest cards, even for people who are coming in for interview processes, lunch and learns. You know, they're looking for understanding and catching people being happy and doing the right thing. And in turn, they have really turned it around with the staff. It's not an us and them mentality. It's really, we're all in this together to really make it happen. But there's also a solid area of boundaries. They understand what the boundaries are with families, with their staff, and they can hopefully make their day better with really looking at the staff. And being family owned and operated is absolutely critical. The focus on security is something that I think is really deeply seated. The values for what's important to families and their little ones, you know, everywhere from having panic buttons and the like in different rooms. And so quality is what truly sets Kevin's organizations apart, as well as being able to not be afraid to publicize it, not being afraid to get out onto Facebook, Instagram, what they're doing for their staff, what they're doing to invest in their people, which is very genuine. And obviously the bonuses they do for longevity, as well as the scholarships, and then working with NACI, doing handwritten cards. I took a few notes, Kevin, and there was not only a few, there was a lot of notes. So this is absolutely excellent. I know people are going to want you back at some point in the future. So would you mind coming back in the next several months at some point?
Anytime, and I'll be at Bounce next week and trying to get to Shift in the fall. So I'd love to meet anybody here in person. Feel free to reach out to me. If you're in the Houston area or traveling, reach out. We'll meet up. I'll show you my school. Would love to come back with you, Tony, anytime. Just let me know.
Absolutely. I'll see you next week. I'm speaking at Bounce 2 times next week, and I'll also be at Shift. So
I'll see you
we'd love
there.
to see you there, and I'm sure we'll share a beer. So
Let's do it.
With that said, to everybody, this is Tony DiAugustino with Inspire Care 360. I've had the pleasure of having Kevin Kilgore, the owner and operator of Legend Ranch with Kids Are Kids in Houston, Texas. And his generosity, I think, is just paramount as to what he's offered. So we're hearing some great things in the comments. People love your presentation. So thank you again. We want to thank everybody. Again, we make these things happen for you out there in our audience. If there's topics you would like us to hear or chase after, we'd love to do it for you and bring it to the table. This is about making our industry better with all the good people that are in this industry. So Kevin, thank you very much. For everybody out there, have a wonderful afternoon. Tony DiAugustino with Inspire Care 360. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.